Good morning and welcome to Cooking with C4. This morning we have Cody with us. Cody is 10 and we are going to be making one of his favorite recipes, scones. Where are scones from, Cody?
British, right?
Right, they're British. They are a Britain pastry. They come from England and they're very dense and they're very yummy. Yes, they are. Where was the first place you ever tried a scone?
Starbucks.
Starbucks. And Cody said, I think we could make scones. And I was a little hesitant, I will admit. I thought it would be something really hard. We found out that scones are pretty
Easy.
Yeah, because you can make anything with
Recipe.
the recipe. So today we're going to tell you about our recipe for scones. The first things are the ingredients. You want to tell them what we need?
You need sugar, flour, baking powder, salt, whipping cream, raspberries, and vanilla paste and vanilla extra.
And some
Oh,
powdered sugar. This is powdered sugar. The powdered sugar and this are for the icing. These you can change your flavors, can't you? What other flavors have we tried?
blueberry, raspberry, plain. That's not really it.
We've done chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip.
Right, so you can measure about a cup of anything and put it in your scones. Okay, we're gonna get started. We've measured out 3 of the cups of flour. We're doing a double recipe. It called for 2 cups, so how many do we need?
2 cups. You need 4.
4. And Cody's gonna give a demo on the proper way to measure flour.
First, you have to spin it up with the spoon really.
Kind of loosen up your flour.
The flour, and then
You dig in and scoop it out?
scoop it out with this,
Oh, not the measuring
not
cup?
the measuring cup,
Why not? Most people do
Because-
the measuring cup.
because it will get packed inside, and then
Ah.
it won't taste as good.
What happens if you get too much flour?
It will taste crummy.
Yeah, it gets crummy. It gets kind of dry. So we want just the right amount of flour in our recipes. So this is our technique for measuring flour. You pack it up high and then what do you do?
And then, if you have an icing
Tool.
then you just go
You
like
could also use, hold it up a little higher. There you go. Also use the back of a knife.
knife.
And if you level it off, nice and level, the flour stays loose. You dump it in. We now have our 4 cups of flour measured out. And we're gonna put our other ingredients in here and add the flour just in case we make any mistakes. We're not gonna ruin 4 whole cups of flour.
Yeah.
So the next thing we need is our sugar. Our recipe, Cody, calls for 1/3 cup.
1/3 cup.
If we're doubling the recipe,
You need 2/3.
right, and we don't have a 2/3 measuring cup, so we're gonna use the 1/3 cup 2 times. We can count them out with Cody. Now with sugar, you can just scoop it out, but it is a good idea to level it with the same level that we used
For the
on
flour.
our flour. Right. Awesome job, Cody. There's 1/3 cup. Fill it up full, level it out. That time Cody leveled towards himself. It's always easier to level away. The excess goes in the bowl. There's our 2/3 cup. Okay, the next thing on our recipe, Cody, is baking powder.
Baking powder.
Now, there's also a technique with baking powder to make sure that it levels the tablespoon. It calls for 1 tablespoon. How much are you gonna put in?
2.
Right, because we're doubling our recipe. Baking powder has this little folded edge. Show them how to do it.
You go in and you use the edge to what we did with the icing.
Level your spoon.
The spoon.
And then if it still looks a little lumpy, what can you do to make sure it's nice and smooth? Hold it over your baking powder and we'll just do a quick level. There you go. Again, you don't want too much of any of your recipes. It's good, or any of your ingredients. It's good to get the exact amount that the recipe calls for to make sure it turns out right. So the next thing we have is the salt, and it calls for a half a teaspoon of salt. So what measuring spoon are we gonna use?
Teaspoon.
Right, 1 teaspoon, because it called for the half. And sometimes salt is a little tricky, so instead of measuring it over our bowl, we're gonna measure it over our measuring cup. Make sure we get about a nice level spoon. Should we check it with our level again? Everything is exact. We put in our 1 teaspoon of salt, and then we're gonna stir those ingredients up with our flour. Let me get you a wooden spoon, Cody.
I thought you needed these.
No, my other wooden spoon must be dirty. So you're gonna dump in your 4 cups of flour, stir that all up. Make sure the salt and the baking powder and everything is stirred in. Looking good. And then you need, the recipe calls for half a cup of whipping cream. We tried a week ago to reduce the fat in our scones, and we used half and half. They did not come out as well. They were a little more cake-like. You can try it with half and half if you're conscious about the weight and the ingredients or the amount of fat, but it tasted much better with the whipping cream. Are you ready to add the whipping cream?
Yes.
Okay, again, it calls for a half a cup. How much are we gonna put in?
A cup.
Right, because
We're making a double batch.
a double batch, because we wanna do half vanilla and half, what is the other half gonna be? We're gonna do half
plain
vanilla paste.
and half plain.
Ooh, that's full. Okay, you think you can stir that in? You might need a metal spoon. And then the very last ingredient that we didn't mention when we went over because we forgot it, it was in the refrigerator, is the butter. And you use a special tool. Do you remember what this is called?
Oh.
Pastry tool.
Pastry.
Don't use a metal spoon to let stir that up. I think that might work better. Let me grab that. That is a pastry cutter. Stir the whipping cream in, and I will grab your butter. Cody, why didn't we have the butter sitting out?
Because it has to be cold.
Right, the butter has to stay cold. This is one of the very few recipes that you're not gonna let your butter get to room temperature. So you keep it cold. We cut it into the tablespoons, and now we are gonna use that pastry tool, Cody's gonna demo, and cut the butter in a little bit at a time. The butter will get coated with the flour and form little, what do you wanna say, like pea-sized
Butter pieces.
And that's how you know you're ready to
Just
knead your dough out. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm good.
You want to start mushing that in?
Then, yeah.
And we both washed our hands really well. That's important during the pandemic, but anytime you're cooking, take time to wash your hands really well before you get started, especially with the dough, because we're gonna roll it out and knead it with our hands. Cody and I may take turns kneading the dough, because it's hard work, isn't it?
Yes.
Also scraping all the butter. We used Kerrygold butter. It's an Irish butter. I like to use it for baking, although it is a little more expensive. Want me to mush for a little bit?
I got it.
Okay, Case, you can pause that. Okay, Cody, that is looking good, I think. We've gotten the dough kind of crumbly looking, and it's covered with flour. You want it to start forming those pea-sized pieces. And Cody is now gonna mix it up with his hands. You go ahead, Cody. Again, we both washed our hands really well before we got started this morning. We're kind of squeezing it into a big ball, and then we are gonna divide it into 2 pieces. You think it's ready to roll out?
Wait, yeah.
Okay, well, you wanna throw a little flour, a little sprinkle of flour on our countertop?
Oh, where?
Then all this dough that we,
Where's the flour?
right here.
That's?
Yep, that's to sprinkle, yeah, I think we need a little more than that. Generously sprinkle flour on the countertop. That's good.
And why are you guys sprinkling the flour?
Oh, because that will keep the dough from sticking to the countertops. And then this is a dough that you don't really need to knead. You don't have to knead it too much. It's pretty ready to go. Cody, you want to be the one to
Do it.
divide it in half and give me my half and you work with your half? Are you doing the vanilla? Or are you doing...
Yeah, I'm doing the plain. Yeah.
Okay, let's do these together so they can get a good look at them. Right down the middle.
Yeah.
After you roll the dough out on the countertop, then what do you want it to be shaped like, Cody? Most scones.
Like a plate?
Yeah, about a 8-inch circle. Cody said a plate because we use a plate when we do it to measure our circle. So it needs to be a little thinner than that.
Can I get
The rolling pin.
yeah, you can use it.
Let me see if I can get mine quick into a circle. Okay, that's what we're going for. But before, since I'm doing the raspberry, making sure I have some flour over here, I gotta mix in my fresh raspberries. Now there is no science to this. They will turn to mush as you mix them. So I'm gonna fold them in and then roll it out again. Quick, just fold them in like I made a little pocket with my raspberries. And then I'm gonna try to get back to my 8-inch circle.
Oh, it's plate size, right?
I don't know, it looks a little small to me. Yeah, I'd say a little bigger.
Yeah.
But we gotta put a little bit of
That's a
the,
little bigger than it's supposed to be.
see? And now Cody doesn't wanna use my rolling pin because it's gonna have the raspberry mush.
Oh, you should have let me.
Is that about 8 inches, I would say?
Okay, this thing's 8 inches and I know it.
But you gotta get your vanilla paste.
Look, see?
I know, but
It's all-
remember you didn't put your vanilla paste in. This,
Oh.
I like, it's a smell.
Oh,
Smells
wow.
of vanilla, it's very strong. You can see, we're doing about a half a teaspoon. Cody just wanted plain vanilla scones. So you're gonna do the same thing I just did with the raspberry.
Just mush it
Just
right in.
kind of fold it back in.
Okay.
You can also do this with blueberries,
Anything you want.
chocolate chips, dried cranberries, ooh, apricots. I keep thinking apricots would be
Here.
really good. You want to roll it to make your
Yeah.
about 8 inches. And then once you have the
Is it
circle,
clear off? That's clear.
you're good. You're going to cut it with a bread knife, butter knife. It doesn't have to be real sharp. You're just cutting through pastry. And you're gonna sit them on a greased pan. I put a little parchment because sometimes those raspberries make a big mess when they bake. So I added the parchment to make cleaning up my pan a little easier. So you're just gonna cut this like you're cutting a pie. You're gonna cut it in half.
I need that next.
In half again. How many pieces are we going for? 8?
By 8.
In half again. In half again. Cody, last night when Case was cooking, he had a problem with the knife. What's the most important thing with the knife?
You have to
Keep your fingers
yours.
away from that blade. So you're gonna cut us 8 pieces. Ooh, I can't wait to taste these scones. After you get them cut, you're gonna lift your little pie shapes onto the pan. We've also cut them even smaller and made petite scones. Those are also good. We're doing, I'm gonna have 16. They do not spread out too much. I think it helps to have the cold butter so they'll stay and keep their form. Most scones are shaped like this in the triangular shape. And any raspberries fall out, you pick them up. Get them off that counter because they are way yummy. The very beginning of this, Cody, we turned on our oven. Do you remember what temperature it was?
375.
No, it's supposed to be 400. Ooh, better kick it up a notch. 400. Okay, lift your scones. Scones onto the thing. And then we're also, to give them a nice brown coating on the top, we're gonna brush the top with a little bit of the whipping cream. Let me grab a brush. We just started making these videos, so making sure that we're prepared and we have everything is new to us. Cody, if I brush all mine, can you brush yours?
Yes.
Just a little bit. This is just the cream. Probably be good to add a little vanilla extract
These
to
two
this.
don't have anywhere to go.
Well, let's,
Actually, I
if we turn these, use that space in between them. See if you can get them in there.
do. What?
Everything's just getting a little coating.
Come
We
on,
want
when
to
you're done.
show the people at home our beautiful tray.
No,
And then these are going to go in the oven, and they are going to bake for about 20 minutes. We find 20 minutes in our oven is the right amount. The recipe says anywhere from 18 to 22 minutes. You want to see that the tops of your scones are lightly browned. We're going to let Cody slide these in the oven. We've all been learning the last few weeks during the pandemic about safety, using oven mitts.
Yes.
When you open a 400-degree oven, you kind of want to let the hot air come out so it doesn't burn your face when you open it. And then we will get back with you
In 20 minutes.
in 20 minutes when these come out of the oven. Look fabulous. I smell the scones cooking. Do you smell them?
Yes.
They smell
Good.
yummy. Tell everybody at home. Okay, so in this bowl, we're making the icing for the scones.
Yes.
We did a cup of
Powdered sugar.
and 2 tablespoons of
Of-
milk. You're gonna start whisking that together.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw in just a dash of this vanilla paste and a half a teaspoon
Okay.
of this clear vanilla extract. I like it because it doesn't change the color of your icing. So we got the Watkins clear vanilla extract. Now, the vanilla paste has a little bit of that brown tint to it, but it's really nice because you can see the vanilla beans. If you look close, see the vanilla bean in it. And so it has a very strong fragrance of vanilla. I like that.
Yes, it
Okay,
does.
I think our scones are ready. Are
Ready?
you ready to pull them out and show everybody at home what they look like?
They're getting burnt. They're getting burnt.
Oh, don't let them get burnt. Pull them quick. Oh, they look fabulous. Yes, perfectly brown on top. Go ahead and sit them right out here. Let me grab a couple of hot plates for you. You lift those
They're
up.
burnt.
Lift them up. They're not burnt.
They definitely look burnt.
They look burnt. They look beautifully brown. That's what you want, is that perfect brown
Brown.
color. Maybe a little lighter, but that looks good. And then when they come out,
Oh,
make sure you turn off your oven. Dad loves it when we forget to turn off the oven. Doesn't he, Cody?
yes.
Mom's famous for that at our house.
Yeah.
And you're gonna ice them.
can do
Remember that
this.
this pan is super hot, but you get a nice coating of icing on those, and then we call your brothers for some breakfast. And what's gonna happen to these scones?
They're gonna get demolished.
Demolished. Tell everybody at home, we will demolish the scones. Thanks for joining us for Cooking with C4.